The Commanders are finally back, and they open the preseason with a 27 win over the Miami Dolphins. As you know, preseason scores don't matter at all, and what matters most is how your players actually look against the real opponent, and that's what we just witnessed. This game gave us our first real look at young players who could become a much bigger part of this team. A few of them really stood out, and if they could keep building on what we saw, their names could become very important moving forward. So, let me break down the players who just put themselves on the radar and why the Commanders may have uncovered some future stars. What's up, Commanders Nation? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Commanders. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So, let's start with the offense, because that's where the biggest storyline of the night happened. Marcus Mariota went down with a knee injury early in this game, and that opened the door for Sam Hartman to come in, and, unfortunately, he struggled. Hartman just did not look like he belonged out there, and I mean that. He threw an interception, missed some easy reads, and made the whole offense look stuck for a good stretch of the second quarter. It felt like every drive he was on ended in either a punt or a lucky bounce that kept things from getting worse. But then something changed. Once athan kaliakmanis checked into the game, the whole energy shifted, and honestly, you could feel it just watching from home. It looked like the offense went from a scrimmage to an actual football game the second he stepped on the field. Kaliakmanis finished 6 of 10 for 87 yards, and honestly, it should have been more because he threw a perfect ball on 3rd and 13 that got dropped by Jacoby Jones in the end zone area. That's not on Kaliakmanis, that's just bad luck on a night where he deserved a better final stat line. What stood out to me the most was the arm talent. This guy can spin it. He put a tight window throw on time and let his receiver do the rest. And that's exactly the kind of composure you want to see from a young quarterback trying to make a name for himself in a crowded quarterback room. Look, I'm not saying he's ready to start on Sunday, and I'm not saying Mariota's job is in danger long term. Mariota has earned the trust of this coaching staff over the last couple of seasons, and that's not going away overnight. But if you're the Commanders, you have to walk away from this game feeling good about what Kaliakmanis showed you. He looked more in control, more decisive, and honestly more talented with the ball in his hands than Hartman did all night. There's a real difference between a guy who was just trying to survive out there and a guy who was actually operating with confidence, and Kaliakmanis was clearly the second version tonight. If this knee injury to Mariota ends up being anything serious, Washington might be leaning on this rookie sooner than anyone expected, and based on what I saw, I don't think that's the disaster some fans are worried about. Keep an eye on this quarterback room because the QB2 conversation just got a whole lot more interesting, and it might not even be that close anymore. Every rep Kaliakmanis takes from here on out is going to get watched a lot closer, and if he keeps building on this the way it looks like he can, this could turn into one of the more important storylines of the entire preseason for this team. Now let's shift over to the backfield, because this next name might have been the best player on the field for the Commanders on either side of the ball. Robert Henry Jr. had himself a night. 12 carries for 75 yards, including a 22-yard touchdown run that was, without question, the best offensive play the Commanders had all game. What I loved about his tape is that every cut had a purpose. He wasn't dancing around back there or wasting movement, he was getting downhill and making decisive reads. And when he found a crease, he hit it with real speed and finished the run instead of trying to bounce it outside for no reason. He also picked up some blitzes in pass protection, which matters a lot for a running back trying to earn trust from his coaching staff, because if you can't protect the quarterback, it doesn't matter how fast you are. You're not getting on the field in this league. I know some of you are going to say it's just the preseason, and sure, that's fair. But you have to remember, this is a crowded running back room, and Robert Henry Jr. is an undrafted guy trying to fight his way onto a 53-man roster full of guys who were drafted ahead of him. A performance like this is exactly how you do it. This is how undrafted guys turn into household names in this league. One preseason carry at a time, one coach taking notice at a time. If he keeps stacking outings like this one, the coaching staff is not going to have a choice. They're going to have to find a role for him somewhere on that offense, whether that's early down carries or a change of pace role in the passing game. This is a name that Commanders fans need to start paying attention to, because he might have just forced his way into a real roster battle that a lot of people weren't even talking about heading into training camp. And honestly, when a running back room is as unsettled as this one has been the last couple of years, that kind of opportunity is exactly what a guy like Henry Jr. needs to make his case, and he made the most of it tonight. All right, let's move over to the defensive side of the ball, because a few names showed up there too, and honestly, some of these guys were flying around all night once the defense settled in. Let's start up front with Ricky Barber. This defensive line has been searching for someone to step up in the middle of that rotation, and Barber gave you a real glimpse of what that could look like going forward. He came away with a sack, he had a couple of quarterback hits, and he got stronger as the game went on, which is exactly what you want to see from a guy trying to climb the depth chart in front of the coaching staff. There was a 4th down stop where Barber helped blow up the run right at the line of scrimmage. And that kind of physicality up front is something this defense needs more of if they want to stop the run consistently this season. It wasn't a flashy highlight reel type of performance, but it was steady, and honestly, that's what stands out to me the most about it. He looked like a guy who took advantage of his reps, played with good leverage, and showed the coaching staff he deserves more of those reps going forward into the next preseason game. With the interior of this defensive line still being sorted out, A guy who can consistently win one-on-one blocks and collapse the pocket is exactly the type of piece this coaching staff has been looking for. From there, let's talk about the linebacker room, because Kaho made a play that's going to get people talking this week. He came away with an athletic interception, and when you watch the way he read that route and closed on the football, you can tell this is a guy who understands the defense and trusts his eyes instead of just reacting late. Kaho has mostly been working with the second and third team units through camp, so this wasn't exactly a spot where people expected a splash play, but that's exactly what makes it stand out. He's also got a background on special teams, which always helps a guy stick around on a roster bubble when final cuts come around because coaches love versatility. If he keeps flashing like this over the next few weeks, don't be surprised if his role starts to expand as the preseason rolls along and the coaching staff starts trusting him with more responsibility. He's not a household name yet around the league, but this is exactly how depth pieces earn a real chance to be more than just a special teamer buried on the roster. And finally, let's close things out in the secondary with Malik Spencer. He came up with the third interception of the night off Cam Miller late in the game, following earlier picks from Kaho and safety Quan Martin. 3 turnovers forced in one night from that secondary and linebacker room. That matters a lot for a defense trying to build an identity. This defense talked all offseason about wanting to be a group that creates takeaways and lives off the football, and on night 1, the young guys in the back end went out and actually delivered on that promise. Spencer flying around and coming up with the football is exactly the type of thing that gets a coaching staff excited about the depth they have behind their starters heading into the regular season. He's not going to walk in and take a starting job right away, nobody is saying that right now. But every rep he takes like this one is building a real case for more playing time as the summer goes on and roster decisions start to get made. Now look, I know it's just one preseason game, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you these 5 guys are locks to be stars this season. That's not how this works, and we've all seen preseason stars fade away once the real games start. But this is exactly how you find out who's for real and who isn't. And this is exactly how rosters get built every single summer. These are names Commanders fans need to keep watching over these next few weeks of the preseason, because if even a couple of these guys keep this up, this roster is going to look a whole lot deeper than anyone expected heading into the season opener. That's going to do it for this one. Let me know down in the comments who stood out to you the most from this game, and if there's a name I didn't mention that you think deserves some love. Drop it below because I genuinely want to hear it. There's a lot of preseason left, and these roster battles are only going to get more interesting from here as the coaching staff starts trimming this roster down. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're new around here, because we've got a lot more of this preseason to break down together over the next few weeks. Until next time, hail to the Commanders.